Good evening. You're watching the Primetime Newscast in the English language on Canal V International. Gladys Sambo Dibang is my name. We begin with the top stories. Residents of the Abattoir neighborhood in Yaoundé 1 were stunned this morning after discovering a coffin left outside the man's residence. The body inside was that of his 27-year-old daughter who recently died in Pointe-Noire, Congo. Family members from the mother's side reportedly transported the remains and left them at the father's home without prior notice. The father, estranged from his wife and children for years, expressed shock at the incident, but however says he will travel with the body for burial in their native village and return to Yaoundé thereafter. And after 11 months of forced closure, the doors of Redac reopened this Monday, October 6, 2025. The premises were sealed on December 9, 2024 by the senior or the divisional officer of Douala 1 following instructions from the Ministry of Territorial Administration. Today marks a joyful moment for the organization, which has just received a favorable ruling from the Douala Administrative Court. And with the presidential elections just days away, a renewed sense of civic duty has sparked a growing rush among citizens to collect their voters' cards. Campaign activities across the country appear to have reignited political engagement, driving large crowds to Elekam branches nationwide. In Yaoundé, a reporter observed long queues at several collection points where hopeful voters waited patiently. You will have more in this newscast. Those were major stories. Stay on for developments. Thanks for joining us once again. You can equally watch us live on the social media handles, Facebook and YouTube. We begin with this story from the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, where it was shock and consternation at the Abattoir neighborhood in Yaoundé 1 when a man woke up to a corpse in front of his house. Inside the coffin was the remains of his 27-year-old daughter who died in Pointe-Noire, Congo. A report says family members from the mother's side had transported the corpse and abandoned at the father's home without a prior notice. Let's have the details with Beatrice Ngamo from Yaoundé.
From Pointe-Noire at Congo to Cameroon, thanks to the support of the family of the mother, they decided to transport corpse to the home of the father, situated at the Abattoir neighborhood under Yaoundé 1 subdivision. The act by the family of the estranged wife is for him to do with this corpse what he did to the first child who died in 2020. He was not home when they arrived. He got home and found it.
Je suis sorti pour aller à l'hôpital. Je viens d'arriver. On m'a appelé pour me dire quand je rentrais. Il a porté le corps pour venir ici.
The story of a man and woman who had 5 children, fruit of 13 years together. At one point, the wife decided enough is enough and left the marital home.
Mon mari m'a torturé avant qu'il ne parte, je ne comprenais plus rien. Il a saisi les enfants. J'ai laissé les enfants à lui. Je suis allé me chercher.
The father said for 10 years now, no words from her like her children. He questioned, why is it that when a child dies, they bring to his house for burial?
Je les ai même vus, même entendu la voix d'une personne, rien. Dès qu'il vient le laisser ici, parce qu'il voit qu'il est mort, ça devient pour moi. Hein? Ça, c'est que comportement.
Accuses the father of being behind all this, for this is the second corpse of his 27-year-old daughter, coming after the 23-year-old who died in 2020.
Ça, c'est ma famille. Ça, c'est ça, les gens qui sont versés là, c'est ma famille. C'est tous les jours les pleurs. Les pleurs, c'est quoi? Il me réclame quelque chose. Il ne m'a pas doté. Il ne m'a pas fait l'acte. Pourquoi tu as encore les enfants?
Father, however, took the corpse and placed it at his veranda inside the compound. As he says, he is preparing to carry to the village tonight for burial early tomorrow morning and to travel back to Yaoundé after that.
Je vais chercher un car pour mettre là le soir. Pour arriver le matin pour enterrer et rentrer. C'est tout ce que je peux faire.
voice of a mother in need of comfort, an end of the numerous deaths of her children.
Well, it's that story, and after 11 months, the offices of REDAC finally reopened. After this Monday, October 6, 2025, the doors were sealed on December 9, 2024 by the divisional officer for Douala 1, following instructions from the Ministry of Territorial Administration. Today marks a joyful moment for the organization, which has just received a favorable ruling from the Administrative Court in Douala. Morindi tells us more.
Chains and padlocks broken, the doors of REDAC, the network of human rights defenders in Central Africa, are finally open again.
On a mis un terme à cet abus intolérable dans un état de droit. Entrez chez vous.
This victory follows a legal appeal filed by REDAC with the Administrative Court, which has ordered the removal of the seals placed on December 9, 2024 on its headquarters by the Subdivisional Officer of Douala 1. The action was based on Ministerial Order number 000121 of December 6, 2024, issued by the Ministry of Territorial Administration, suspending the association activities.
Aujourd'hui, ils peuvent exciper d'une décision de justice qui ordonne la réouverture du REDAC et la reprise de nos activités comme on l'a fait par le passé.
Once the gates were unlocked this Monday, October 6, 2025, after nearly a year, what greeted the returning REDAC team was an overgrown compound. In tears, they hugged each other in celebration of what they described as a hard-won battle for justice.
And today is commemorated as World Habitat Day, and our newsroom took special interest in some neighborhoods that are usually flood prone and filled with insecurity. They say the blocked drainage in that neighborhood, that is Bilonge, is impassable roads and absence of street lighting have made life difficult for them, just like in other neighborhoods in Cameroon's economic city. We have Sherifa Saleh, who visited that neighborhood and talked to the residents, their reactions in this report.
This is Bilonge, a neighborhood in Douala 3 subdivision. Access here becomes almost impossible whenever heavy rains fall. Streets turn into muddy rivers, homes are submerged, and residents are forced to wade through stagnant water that lingers for days.
We are constantly falling sick because of mosquitoes. Where there is stagnant water, mosquitoes breed easily, and that makes life here very difficult for us.
According to inhabitants, the situation worsens each rainy season. Many have blamed the problem on clogged drainage systems that have not been properly maintained for years.
Our biggest concern is the lack of a proper drainage system. If we had well-constructed gutters, rainwater could flow freely. Just behind me is supposed to be a junction, but it is completely impassable.
Beyond the floods, darkness takes over Bilonge at night. With no functioning streetlights, residents say insecurity has become a growing concern.
We urgently need street lights. At night, this area becomes pitch dark and we are exposed to all kinds of aggression. The level of insecurity due to the absence of lighting is alarming.
The population of this area are appealing to the powers that be to evacuate drainage channels, install street lighting, and improve basic infrastructure in the area.
Whenever it rains, movement becomes almost impossible. The whole neighborhood floods, and getting in and out is a real struggle.
For now, residents of Bilonge say they hope their cries will finally be heard and that one day their neighborhood will no longer be defined by floods and fear.
Thank you so much, Sherifa Saleh. And we just a couple of days to election day in Cameroon. Many voters have been rushing to Elecam offices to collect their voters' cards. In Yaoundé, a reporter tells us there were queues of potential voters who were there to collect their cards, many of them visibly happy and satisfied after collecting their voters' cards. Let's have more with Hysen Shia.
The rush to most Elecam branches in Yaoundé want to withdraw voters' card, though the list of polling stations and distribution of electors among those polling stations are pasted for verification. Upon arrival, the receipts are collected and verification commission cross-check and transfer for owners to come in for validation. Once validated and handed, the joy and satisfaction very relieving.
Je suis là depuis le matin. Depuis 6 heures, je suis là. Non, finalement, on m'a appelé, je suis contente.
Je suis très content parce que je viens d'avoir 21 ans cette année, donc c'est ma première fois de voter.
Less than 1 week to the polls, the presidential campaigns must have changed the minds of many. Why the zeal this October 6 in Yaoundé?
Que plus on se rapproche de l'élection présidentielle, plus l'affluence s'accroît. Les gens viennent retirer les cartes pour les retardataires.
These others feel discouraged that 1 year and above, they are still to withdraw their cards.
Je suis arrivé aujourd'hui, on m'a demandé de prélever mon nom sur un bout de papier et envoyer à l'intérieur. On est sorti, me dit que ce n'est pas disponible. Il fallait que moi je vote dimanche. Bon, moi, je ne sais pas comment il veut faire.
Je viens aujourd'hui pour retirer. Malheureusement, je n'ai pas trouvé l'original.
Not a disturbing problem. Elecam officials reassure, especially that
pour ceux qui n'ont pas encore les cartes, parce qu'il faut l'avouer, toutes les cartes n'ont pas encore été produites. Mais
for those without cards, for it is good to say all cards are not available. But before election day, all will be available. To this, we want to reassure. After finding names on the list and knowing polling stations, on voting day, they can do so with ID card. Other branches are areas where the population can also consult registration, voting centers, and more through the Elecam website. At the Mfundi Divisional Elecam branch, material like list dispatchments ongoing to the different branches for the polling stations. This for the presidential election on the 12th of October 2025, and some 12 parties are vying for this top post of the state.
And after 43 years under President Paul Biya, we have voters across the country that are voicing strong expectations for a change with top concerns in the sectors of education, job creation, public health, as well as the fight against corruption. We went down the city of Douala to get the reactions of some voters to have them in this report.
With just few days before voters go to the polls, expectations among Cameroonians are high. Many say the new president must urgently address the country's deteriorating infrastructure, unemployment issues, and persistent concerns of governance.
I think we have to have like a leader who is intentional about having more professionalized education, because the employment rate, the high employment rate, is directly linked to the quality of education that we have, and that apart from education, we also I mean, there are 3 major sectors. There is health, education, and employment.
We need better living conditions, water, electricity, roads, and being able to move around freely. I expect a program that tackles youth unemployment, fights corruption, and promotes national development through investment and private sector growth. Right now, all candidates are presenting similar agendas.
Others are calling for leadership that will serve as a positive example and deliver on long-standing development promises. To them, after 6 decades of independence, much still needs to be rebuilt.
The future president should be a role model and create jobs by improving infrastructure like fully activating the Douala-Yaoundé highway and expanding employment opportunities. Everything must be rebuilt. Our roads, health, education and justice system. After 60 years of independence, we still lack basic services and freedoms. It's time for real change.
As campaigns continue on major cities across the country, many voters believe that while the candidates' messages often sound similar, what truly matters is implementation. Their collective hope is for a new leader who will not only make promises but deliver real change. And with just a few days to the presidential elections in Cameroon, we have Anglophone elites in the city of Douala that were out yesterday to garner support for the CPDM presidential candidate, President Paul Biya. The Anglophone community who were demanding a peace to reign in the northwest and southwest regions of the country equally promised to vote for the presidents, for the CPDM candidates in the upcoming presidential election. Let's have this in this report. It was a culturally rich campaign rally in Bonaberi, October 5, 2025. The Anglophone community in Douala called for a return of peace in the northwest and southwest regions as they pledged their full support to President Paul Biya.
We, the Anglophones, both northwest and southwest, we are already 100% support for Paul Biya.
Prominent Anglophone elites, including Honorable Ngala Gerards and Fonjo Wilson of Cochin, urged the crowds, a majority of whom had been displaced as a result of the crisis, to back the winning team, emphasizing there is no better candidate to lead Cameroon into a peaceful future.
Since they left the English-speaking regions and they are living happily here, we should vote for the right choice. We should vote for President Paul Biya, who is the architect of peace, who is the architect of national integration, and that makes us to live peacefully here in Douala.
Paul Biya is development, Paul Biya is peace. So we are going through difficulties, and we know with Paul Biya we are going to make it. Come October 12th, President Paul Biya 100% from the Anglophone community in Douala.
Addressing the crowd, the president of the CPDM Special Campaign Committee for Douala called on the population to make the right choice on election day in order to safeguard unity and peaceful coexistence.
I want just to invite you next Sunday to make a good choice. The right choice. The right choice is President Biya. This is his white ballot paper.
Earlier, it was a parade of motorbikes, vehicles, and campaign trucks that brought life to the streets of Bonaberi Douala in a show of support for President Biya in spite of the heavy downpour and distractions. And that is how we saw it for the 6:15 primetime newscast in the English language on Canal de International. It is a pleasure knowing you have been watching, but don't go away because we have other editions of the news where you will have more reports and information or updates on information that we have today. But up next is Electoral at the daily campaign news program that is coming up with Lil Pijo. Good evening.